Martina, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Sorry, a little late there.
That's okay. I was worrying if I got the time wrong because I'm in Europe, so I'm 9 hours
Oh gosh.
ahead of you. So I got really anxious. I was like, "Did I miss this?" Then I was like, "Did
Oh
I not
no.
do math all of a sudden?" And I went back and looked, and then I was just like, "Okay, no, it's
Oh
just
no, we're good.
yeah, exactly." Oh my
Cool. Well, I'm glad we could do this. Wait, I have to ask you, what hanging behind you? What's the logo on your
UMass?
I played softball at UMass.
You did? No
Yeah.
way. When? When did you graduate?
Oh no.
When did you
In
graduate?
2014. I'm 20. I'm
Okay. You
May. Yeah.
That's crazy. I did not know that at all. I did not know that.
So sorry, like couldn't as soon as it's loaded, I was like, I have one of those.
It's funny I actually chose this position because I'm usually in the living room, but my parents are there. So to avoid like confusion, I just sat here. I don't have a desk in my room because I haven't been home for such a long
Oh,
that I'm literally like on my bed. This is just hanging on top of my
dude, it was so not to dude you, but
seat.
like so meant to be. How funny.
Wait, yeah, no, I'm honestly speechless. I'm trying to think, how did I not realize you attended UMass? Because I did search you up.
Oh, that's fine. I was trying to pull up your info.
That's wow.
So when
That
you
makes me
get,
a lot happier then. That's crazy. Wow.
I know. Yeah, this makes it way easier.
Do you okay, I'm gonna ask you this, even though it might be kind of a shot in the dark. Do you know any of the advising team there since you were a student
Oh
athlete?
yeah,
Who do you know? Well,
yeah.
okay, so my advisor was Lance.
Oh
Over
hell yeah, I
you
had
know
Lance.
Lance? I love
Yeah,
that. And I knew Pete very well. He was kind of like
yep.
sorry. So you okay, they were there then? Perfect. I
They
never
were
saw
so
them come in.
they
So
were there.
they were
When
there.
I
Okay.
started maybe my like sophomore junior year. Pete was there from the beginning for me.
I have
Like
no idea how long he's been at UMass. I have no
when
idea
did
how
when
old
did you
he is.
graduate?
I graduated last year, 2020. So
How did you like it?
I loved UMass.
I loved it too.
Yeah,
I loved it.
it's my second home. I have a UMass flag right there. I would turn around my laptop, but my room is such a mess that I'd rather not.
Right.
But no, I played tennis at UMass. So yeah,
Oh, I figured. Yeah.
yeah. This is
Oh, cool. Oh, I
the
love this for
compliment
us.
they give. Yeah, that's no, that's
At
honestly,
least you guys had
huh?
at least you guys had the new athletic director who like seemed like he actually cared.
Really, you didn't have an
So I
assistant?
had John McCutcheon
Okay.
who left like right after my senior year. So Ryan Bamford like did at least like he upgraded the facilities more. Like
Yeah.
at least
He
it's and I like the new logo like a lot. So
Yeah, I noticed they did a lot of like the logo, for
like
example,
the
they were
wraps.
wanting to change it again actually, which I'm hoping they weren't because I like this one. It's the Power U, like it's fine.
Me
Um
too.
yeah, I know it was more like it was in cursive, right? Before it used to be like it
It
was
was
just
more of like a like they use the word Massachusetts a lot,
okay. Yeah,
which I like. Like I like being proud of the
yeah.
state and it's a state school, you know. But I just like that
That's more of
logo
a
a lot better.
statement, I feel like. There are 5 different schools, which is Dartmouth, Boston, Lowell, and whatever, which you
Manager.
can
Yeah.
understand, but still, like, there's one UMass. Like, if you think UMass, you think Amherst. You don't think
Right.
Lowell, unless you say
No.
UMass Boston, you say UMass Lowell.
Right.
That's
No, people know it's the flagship. Like when you say UMass, people know what you're talking about. Most people.
yeah, well, at least the people I've spoken to, they always knew, so I didn't have to say, "Oh, no, it's not Boston, it's whatever." And they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay," they always knew, but that's wow, that's wonderful that you played
I
softball.
love that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So and what are you doing now? You're in a grad program now?
Yeah, so because of COVID, I was supposed to play my last year, my senior year. COVID happened. We were literally a week before spring break that we were supposed to leave and go to Louisiana and play there, and COVID happened. So I didn't play. My season got cut short, and I'm sure you heard about the eligibility, 5th year, whatever,
Oh
whatever.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
took advantage of that because one, I'm a foreign student. My parents are diplomats, so I grew up in California. I grew up in
Oh,
Southern California. Yeah, I lived very close to UCLA. I grew up in Beverly Hills, so I
oh
know
cool.
Westwood so well. So many of my friends go to UCLA. Which is another reason I was happy you answered, because we could kind of
Yeah,
share that as well.
totally.
I lived in Beverly Hills. I did middle school and high school, so about like 8 years. And my whole childhood, probably, I would say. And now I did this 5th year program. It's a 1 year sport administration program. That kind of entitled. I had to do. It's 3 semesters plus an internship. And I have all these projects where I have to do interviews, kind of get to know people that are already in the field of what I'd like to do, which is why I'm
Yeah.
interviewed today. And yeah, I'm almost done. This is actually my last week of school. I'm
Nice. Congrats.
I'm very excited. Yes, I loved this program because I did political science in undergrad, which
Phew.
was. Oh, did you?
That's my I have a minor in poli sci
Oh
from
my
UMass.
God, that's crazy. Wow.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I loved political science at UMass. It's a great program. I found it to be I learned so much, honestly. And I just didn't feel like I didn't see myself in political science yet. Maybe I wanted to do it later on, maybe when I'm older, because I'm 22. Some would say I should be a senior in college right now. Some should say I'm fine. I never know how it works with ages, but
Eh,
either way, whatever.
you're
So
ahead of the game.
so yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If anything, I'm ahead. I wanted to do sport admin because I love sports. Obviously, I played tennis for 16 years now. I always wanted to work in something that had to do with sports, and now I'm actually getting more of a passion of working within the NCAA and kind of like anything that has to do with student athletes or anything that has to do with a college, just because I'm so familiar being a student athlete, and I learned so much by just not even just like the competition part, but just being a student athlete, waking up at
Right.
5, going here, there, everything. Pete
Right.
Pete was great. I was part of SAC, so
Oh,
SAC
good.
was
Yeah. Pete,
yeah.
that's
So
great.
he did all of that, so I learned a lot there, and it was a great experience. Especially UMass is beautiful. I loved it. I know people have their opinions about the campus and whatnot, but I don't really care. I love that place with my whole
I
heart.
I loved it. I love Amherst. I think Western Mass is
It's
beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, it's so quaint. Like Amherst is such a quaint town, and I honestly had maybe the snow coming from California was a bit hectic for me,
That was
but
hard.
you get used to it. But anyway, okay. I love this whole conversation we just had. So I'll just
I
start.
know this is so it's so
Yeah,
cool. Honestly,
I'm sorry. I kind of went off topic just because, like, I'm thinking, oh my God, she went to UMass and now she works in California.
that's
I grew up in California.
okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. To get back on topic, let's say, let's just start the interview.
Yeah.
And okay, so where did you attend undergrad and what did you study?
So I actually got a double major. So I did journalism and communication. My journalism major, I have a concentration in sport. And then I also got a minor in political science. So I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to take full advantage of school. So my college coach and I butted heads because I would miss practice here and there, obviously, with the rigorous class schedule. But loved it. My original intention was maybe to be a sideline reporter for sports for ESPN somehow. That was the sport journalism idea. Maybe even writing for the LA Times. Like back when I decided my major, it was 2012. Print journalism was still a thing. And it's crazy how that industry has really, evolved. So I'm so glad I didn't become a glorified blogger on Twitter. My second major communications, it just was easy to double dip.
Yeah.
So I just was kind of smart that way, took 3 more classes in order to get the double major. And then kind of like you, poli sci was always just an interest of mine. Loved the classes. I wish I remembered more of the content now, but at least, I have that foundation with that minor. So that was undergrad. And then my graduate experience, I finished my master's from the University of San Francisco. So I did that satellite campus down in Orange County. I did that program while working full time at Cal State Northridge as the compliance coordinator in the athletic department.
Mm.
So I got my start in college athletics and compliance. So that's more uh, eligibility, rules, regulations, things like that, financial aid, books, scholarships, all that. But I finished my master's in that in May of 2017.
Yeah, I had a teammate when I was a freshman. She was a senior. She did journalism as well, and she was
Oh,
interested into going into sport broadcasting.
oh yeah.
And yeah, because it's a very popular field, but it's highly competitive. So she would talk to me about it and be like, like in order to get into this specific sector, you have to study this and then learn that, and you have to know how to write and how to speak. And I was honestly, and I admired her just because like I could never do anything that has to do with public speaking too well, just because I get so
Oh,
nervous. But she kind of like told me about it. And she told me that the journalism department was also very good, and like the professors were very knowledgeable, and she learned a lot. So like that was always good to hear. It's funny you mentioned Northridge actually, because when I was maybe like 13, I would say, I trained at the university, the camp, not the camps, sorry, the courts. My coach was the head coach of the team at Northridge at CSUN. I always call it that, but Northridge, yeah. So it's really cool that you say that, because it just reminded me of when I would train. And
Gary Victor?
that's sorry, Gary. Yeah, do you know Gary?
I know. I love Gary
Know
Victor.
him? Oh, that's
Yeah, no,
crazy.
I worked with him when I was at Northridge, and he is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, he was
Oh
my.
my gosh,
Okay.
you're back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Back. Okay, it might just be the Wi-Fi.
Internet.
Because here it's pretty bad, but so I apologize.
Yeah. Oh, come on. I've been working from home long enough. I'm used to it.
You
It's all good.
understand. Um,
But so cool about Gary Victor.
he's a great guy.
Love Gary Victor. That is so cool.
That's why I brought it up, because I was like, oh, compliance. She had to have worked with student athletes, eligibility, like you said. I was like, maybe she knows him. I'll just say that I trained there, and maybe she'll.
Oh
He's
yeah.
one of the best coaches I've ever had. As a person in
I
general,
need to text him.
fantastic. Yeah,
Oh
fantastic.
yeah. Great person.
That's
I have no idea his tennis knowledge, but he's a good person.
oh, but yeah, he's a great person on the court, off the court, everything. Wow, that's crazy.
I'm
Okay.
for sure gonna text him that we
Yes,
met.
I'm gonna email him after too, because that's
Yeah.
he watched me grow up. So
Oh,
for a while, yeah, because I was 12, and then it was just until I went to college. So really, yeah, I was a baby. That's crazy. That though, that's yeah, he's a great person. Okay, so I understand that you always kind of had a passion to work in sports. Then did you have something in specific that kind of drove you to want to pursue a career, maybe like a person that you
yeah.
looked up to, or I don't know, something that happened, or was it just always an interest of yours?
I think as a former student athlete, obviously, giving back to the world that gave so much to me means a lot. After being on a team since I was 5 years old and representing something bigger than myself, I know it sounds cliche, but I thrive in that element. So when I graduated from UMass and moved home back to Northridge, it was like, now what? And I walked over to Cal State Northridge, a school down the road. I said, I don't have a whole lot of experience, but I'm a former student athlete. I talk fast, I work hard, and I can start right now. And I can work for free. And they said, come back tomorrow. So it just ended up being a really good situation to get my foot in the door. I didn't even realize, like, obviously I worked with Pete and Lance, and like, I realized there's support staff in college athletics and academia and higher education. I didn't realize the career path. Like, I didn't realize I could be an AD. So it is my number one goal career wise to be an athletic director of a university. So that's really my trajectory now. And, it really helps drive that focus is helping impact the student experience. Again, like, I believe in sport. I believe in what the power of sports do to unite communities and people from all different backgrounds, ethnicities, socioeconomic areas, and gives people the opportunity to do things they never would have dreamed. Even me as an employee at UCLA, I would have never thought I would be a part of the number one school in the nation, and I get to represent UCLA, and it's amazing. And every school where I've worked, even playing at UMass, I'm so proud of it. Obviously, as you can see, like working at Northridge, I worked at Portland State between Northridge and UCLA, even getting my master's from USF. Like, I'm really passionate about higher education and what that has done to so many students, right? In the, thinking first generation students, just to people like me, where it's just given, open the door to so many opportunities to pursue my dreams. So, and obviously sports is just a good platform to watch young individuals reach their goals and develop and really just transform their skill set and their character.
Yeah, one thing I love about America in general with sports is that it's so inclusive for everyone. And like you said, like just sports in general brings a community together, like wherever you are. And in Italy, actually, if you choose to go to university, then you have to give up your sport. There's no way you can continue to study and play at least at a competitive level, just because the amount of work that you have to do for Italian universities is unheard of. And
Crazy.
yeah, and they don't even, it's bad because they view athletes, young athletes, I would say like someone in their 18, 20s, as kind of, I don't mean to say low lives, but almost in that way, just because they're not studying or they don't think they're studying. So they're not capable of doing anything academic. So they say, oh, you play sports? Okay, then play pro, don't go to university. So like for me, it was such a what's it called? Opportunity. Sorry, my Italian and English intertwined. It was
You're
an
doing good.
opportunity to play in college and just kind of grow up in America, just because I got to view that whole different perspective that you also just mentioned about like how it is and how once you kind of start working and you have been a student athlete, you can start right away just because of the skill set you have. And like that's what kind of taught me also when I was in
Right.
college. Like as a freshman it was hard just because like I was never used to it, and I'm sure maybe in the beginning it was kind of a change for you as well.
Right.
But once you kind of get into it and then you get that mindset of, okay, I have to do this, I'm under pressure, I have to do this, then I'll be fine. And it's great that you represent UCLA,
Right.
honestly, because it is a fantastic school. My brother went to USC, so I know
Yeah.
the rivalry, but still, like California schools, I would say all of them are amazing schools, sincerely.
Yeah.
Academic, non-academic, like they're fantastic. So it's really
Yeah.
it's really admirable that you're there now and you're working, and
Thank you.
it's great. Yeah, no, honestly, it's you should be very very proud of yourself because that's
Yeah. No, definitely not.
yeah. Okay, so what is your current position right now?
My current position, I'm the associate director for development, which means I manage and oversee about 200 to 250 accounts of season ticket holders, constituents, and alumni, and hopefully generate more revenue for them to give back to UCLA athletics. So it's my goal to be the conduit, as working through philanthropy or even just transactional donations to help fundraise for UCLA athletics and the Win Athletic Fund. Our priorities lie with raising money for the Win Athletic Fund, which is our unrestricted account, capital projects, which are like buildings, new enhancements, locker room renovations, things like that,
Yeah.
endowments and scholarships as a third bucket that we fundraise for. And then the fourth one, individual sports. So I'm really, really lucky. I get to oversee the fundraising efforts for men and women's volleyball, beach volleyball, and I've recently taken over women's soccer.
Oh,
So yeah. So very, very fun to help raise some money for those sports and move the needle so they can, spend outside their operating budget or, get alumni more involved in giving back to their alma maters.
mhm.
That's my title, and that's like a kind of brief synopsis of what my day-to-day responsibilities entail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is volleyball a ticketed sport? I never know, just because
Yes.
UMass did. It is, right? Okay, because UMass didn't have a volleyball team.
At UMass, I'm not sure. At UCLA, we ticket all Olympic sports and obviously football and basketballs.
Right, the bigger
I
one.
don't know if we ticket water polo. Actually, yeah,
Okay, yeah, I
we
know
ticket every sport at UCLA. Nine.
that. I always wondered about that actually, because I know football and basketball and maybe like I was thinking ice hockey, but there's no ice hockey at UCLA. I don't think, right? Is there ice hockey? No. Okay. Because they're the bigger, they go on TV, play, they have all these big tournaments. I knew they were per se always ticketed. I wasn't sure if it was, is it a mean of like the university decides who to ticket, like which sports can be the like ticketed sports, or is it just a common thing? Because I know UMass doesn't uh ticket all sports,
Not
like
every sport.
football,
Yeah,
hockey,
I
and
would say it's
so yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I would say discretion of the athletic department. At CSUN, we didn't ticket all of our sports. At Portland State, we only ticketed we only ticketed 4 sports. So I think it's just discretion of the athletic department. Like you're gonna lose more money staffing and printing tickets and the time it takes to ticket the event versus the revenue that you would generate on the tickets themselves.
Right.
So I think that's what the athletic department has to weigh and decide. At UCLA, we're really lucky. We make money
Yeah.
generally, at least on tickets on sports. Like gymnastics is a full house in Poly Pavilion.
Yeah.
Volleyball is pretty heavily attended.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it, just depends on the university, the size and the bandwidth of each athletic department, and really cost analysis of what's actually worth it.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I know UCLA is very, I would say between UCLA and Stanford, I think those are the two main universities that always come to my mind when I think of a school that has every team that is successful, honestly. Like I can freely
I
say
love
I know. Yeah, no, honestly, because I mean, growing up in California, the tennis team is really good. I have a few friends that
that.
now
Really good.
graduated but played, and they were all Americans. So like, the team is good. I know soccer is very good. I know all of the teams. I mean, frankly, I'm just thinking of who I know there, but Stanford as well. Obviously, like they're very, very good teams. And I know then that's probably also because of the football team. Then would you say the popularity of the football team and how much they probably make a lot more money than like volleyball? Probably, I would think, just because
Yes,
it's so popular,
volleyball.
right? So is that kind of what led the athletic department to be like, okay,
Yep.
we can kind of okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's I always ask myself.
Yeah. So football, obviously,
Yeah, no, sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
we have a big emphasis on football. You're right.
Mhm.
I know it's the Wi-Fi,
Yeah, it
but football, big emphasis. With yeah, with Pac-12 network and the money that we can generate from TV deals. That obviously it's a big revenue stream for us for the football program. So that's where and why a lot of our resources in terms of development and other things throughout the department, we have to put our focus there because that's where we're going to have the most payout and that's going to help subsidize the budget of all the other smaller sports.
Mhm.
So it's tough because you want to give equal attention and opportunity and resources to the smaller sports who are successful, maybe even more successful than your football program. But your football program is bringing in millions, at least at UCLA,
Yeah.
millions. So we have to put our time, energy, resources, effort, funds into making sure that's a first class operation.
Yeah, of course. How is that gonna work with the NIL now? Because
It's convoluted. It's exciting. It's a really exciting time in college athletics for athletes to be able to profit off their name, image, and likeness.
yeah.
There's a lot of checkpoints.
Mhm.
None of the sponsorships that athletes are signing contracts with, they can't interfere with any current sponsorships or deals that UCLA or UCLA Athletics has.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of checks and balances. I feel for our compliance office; they're working overtime now.
Yeah.
It's exciting for development to see how we can orchestrate maybe generating more revenue or new revenue or helping connect our donors who own certain companies to get them linked up with our student athletes just to help propel new opportunities. So
Mhm.
definitely is, there's so many things on the table and we don't know. So we
Right.
will we'll be learning a lot this academic year and be able to hopefully arm our student athletes to be in a position of success.
Right. Donor engagement is probably gonna skyrocket, I feel like, because if like
Yeah.
there's 10 guys on the football team that are probably going to get drafted and are super popular because they're so good. I mean, I feel like donor, or not just the football team, but just anybody, any really good athlete in general, I feel like donors are going to kind of want to invest in that and then kind of maybe,
Yeah.
rebuild facilities or whatever else you need. I don't know what UCLA needs right now, honestly, but I feel like
Right.
that's going to be a big, yeah, like I don't want to say improvement, but I feel like it'll be completely different just because you like, how are you going to know how much these athletes are going to be paid, and they're still going to represent UCLA, so it's
Yep.
going to be completely, that's amazing.
It
I
is amazing.
honestly didn't think it was going to pass the
I know.
NIL.
I'm glad it did. I'm glad it passed. It should create a lot more jobs within college athletics, to be super frank, because it shouldn't just fall on our compliance office, but like we have our athletes upload their contracts to a database so we can help oversee what
Right,
are you making? What does it mean? And none of us are sport agents though. Like if
right,
I wanted to be a sport
yeah,
agent, I would go be a sport agent and make triple my salary, to be super honest.
right,
So then it's a catch 22. Like we want to best support our student athletes to put them in a great position, but it's also not what a lot of people sign up for. So I think there's going to be a big transformation in college athletics in the next 3 to 5 years, with jobs, the evolution of jobs, the creation of new ones, and or just people figuring out what they want to do. Me telling you, Martina, like I want to be an athletic director in 5 years, if that means that I'm basically a glorified sport agent overseeing contracts for these 20-year-olds, I'm going to go be a sport agent and not. So it just depends.
yeah.
I'm curious to see how it plays out. I'm happy it passed.
Mhm.
Uh, I think it's long overdue. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
In a way, I feel like it was kind of a restriction for some athletes, especially if like they wanted to play pro. I feel like
Yeah,
this is kind of a ticket into understanding how that life is after college, but still being able to pursue a degree or
yeah,
still study, because maybe sometimes they want to go pro and then they say, but you know, like I want to keep studying, but if I continue playing here, then I won't reach the next level. Like it's all, so that's going to be really interesting. Yeah, I think it'll be really exciting for whoever works in the NCAA, because it's going to be completely like a 360. Like I feel like everything is just going to, so
totally.
that's going to be really cool to see how it develops, like you said, obviously. Okay, well, back to the interview. I would love to talk about this all day, but unfortunately it's not what the interview is about. The interview is about you, but either way, yeah, the NIL will, yeah, we'll see eventually. So what would you say are some common entry level jobs, maybe for your sector, the department, kind of, you know?
So I actually oversee our intern team at UCLA with our development interns. So that would be like number one entry level. You're an intern, and that's how you get your foot in the door. Typically, I was really lucky to get a full time position, paid position, almost immediately. So I'd say development intern to development coordinator. That's usually a transition there. From there, a baseline development entry level role, other than development coordinator, would be like an assistant director. So it'd be one step below where I am right now, I would say. That's probably like, I'd say mid upper level for an entry level job. But that typically that's the progression. If you want to work in development and fundraising, you start towards the bottom and then you get promoted and kind of work your way up that way.
Yeah,
Me starting out in compliance as the compliance coordinator and then going to Portland State, working as the director of external operations, that gave me a broad-based experience to have that platform to make the transition to be the associate director for development.
yeah,
I got pretty lucky skipping steps and going right towards a more specialized fundraising role at UCLA without having to be a development intern or coordinator or assistant director. But versatile experience and a master's degree. I mean, setting yourself up for success, and that's what you're doing with this program, and finally graduating, like amazing. So now, as a former student athlete in undergrad and having your master's degree, like you're ahead of the ball game like a lot. So definitely will help separate yourself from the job industry.
yeah. That's also another question that I usually ask, because I'm always very curious to know kind of like what type of qualifications you need, especially because when I was a political science major, I was thinking about internships within political science, so I never did anything related to sport. So I always wonder, like, oh well, I was a student athlete. I know they like that, usually employers, just because like they see your skills, they see how you are, and they see how you can work, so it's always a plus. But then I worry about other things, so it reassures me that you say this, because it means that I'm doing something right, at least. And I'm not kind of,
I
but
think it's all about how you position yourself and how you sell your experience as a student athlete.
yeah.
I mean, getting the job at Northridge with like basically zero work experience. I mean, I had like summer jobs, but they weren't like real internships. Like I was a camp counselor at a beach. I was
Mhm.
a photographer for a whitewater rafting company. Like those aren't office jobs. Like at least I worked and made money, but like I think it's all about how you sell yourself as a student athlete, that you're punctual, you know how to work on a team, you know how to work towards a collective goal, you know how to work with people from different backgrounds, countries, states. Like you are able to acclimate yourself in that kind of situation, and that will transfer to any job. And maybe that's me passing out the Kool-Aid for you, Martina, but like I truly and wholeheartedly believe that. Like I've moved what, 4 times. I'm 29. I've moved 4 times up and across the country, back up to Portland and back. Like
Mhm.
uprooting your life. No, even though I moved back to UCLA to take the job, like I still gave up my life in Portland. Same with UMass. I still gave up my life at UMass. So
Yeah.
it does take a special kind of person to be able to do that, not in a tooting my own horn way, but in like a being a student athlete for 20 years prepared me to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's the resiliency, it's the confidence of your character, and kind of just having the guts to just go for it. And yeah, and that's all orchestrated through figuring out how to hit a good backhand, or I don't know tennis enough to equate any
That
analogy.
was good. That was a good example. So yeah, no, that's good. No, it makes sense just because I feel like we're built different in a way, to not say it in a very informal way, but I think student athletes are kind of built to become a step ahead of what a usual employee would be. Not
Totally.
not to kind of diminish normal that didn't play sports in college people, but just I it because what we went through is completely unheard of, I think sometimes,
Right.
just because like maybe it's normal in America, but I told my family here in Italy and they were like, so you're basically a professional player. I'm like, no, I'm not, but it seems like it because we're treated as so, even
I
if it's
mean,
tennis.
we're we're lifting at 6 a.m. We're going to our first practice.
Yeah.
And then we go back to class, and then you want to get swings by yourself, so then you're going back to the court because you want to work on something yourself. Like, and then there's homework, and everyone else is boozing on a Tuesday and doing God only knows, and
Yeah.
we have lift at 6 a.m., so it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good to hear because I think the same things you think, and hearing them from someone who's at a position now that is so successful just makes me feel better because now I know like, okay, so I'm not the only one that thinks this.
Nope. You're
I've heard it before, but it was, I don't know, it took more people to really make me believe it, just because like sometimes I'm like, oh, because there's always this view on student athletes that they're not successful in school, that they don't care about school, or they don't care, they just want to play sports, and it's that stereotype exactly. So I'm just like, I'm like, okay, like you're entitled to your own opinion, but you have to understand that the character we have is what's going to make us successful in the job that we're going to, whichever that is, doesn't matter. But so no, that's very good to hear, just because like someone like me who has zero experience and wants to get into this field kind of like needs to know what it is that you kind of have to do then to get into it. And I'm glad that I was a student athlete. I would never ever regret anything like that. It was fantastic. There were days where I wanted to quit, but I think everyone did, honestly. But no, I think it's rewarding in so many ways, so honestly. Okay, so thank you for that answer. That was fantastic.
yeah.
How would you say most people get into this field? Is it just more of a passion then, like interest that you would have, or would you say that maybe if you work in like academic advising and you kind of want to switch, is that possible? Like if you kind of want a change of heart or something, like
Yeah, looking at my situation, like starting out in compliance for 3 years, like I knew I needed to get out before I was in it too long, where I wouldn't have the skill set to jump over to the external side of things. College athletics is really divided in two buckets of internal, which is compliance, academic advising, more student athlete based.
Mhm.
Is like you actually see student athletes a lot. And then external, which is more revenue generation or fan experience. So that's ticketing, sales, marketing, corporate sponsorships, development in terms of fundraising. I think you could definitely, I'm biased because I did it. If I wanted to go back to compliance, I think it would be hard, but I think I could do it if
Yeah.
I wanted.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to, but so I think you find which one is more suited towards your personality, towards your work style, towards what's going to get you out of bed every day where you're making the most impact. I felt like I made a bigger impact in compliance, honestly. Like I felt like I was changing kids' lives every day, but I knew that my personality, I'm more suited to be more in front of more people.
Yeah.
Like meeting with donors and season ticket holders and alumni, like that is my bread and butter. Hearing their stories of why they're passionate about UCLA and they want to give back to their programs, like that is where I love my job.
Yeah.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Why people get into the industry? I mean, I think a lot of people get into it for a couple reasons. Maybe one, they love sports and they think it's going to be a great career.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is recipe for burnout. Mm-hmm. We all love sports, right? Like we wouldn't do this if we didn't love sports. So I think there has to be like another switch that you flip. Like, no, I love changing people's lives through sport. Like I know even your situation, Martina, which is so inspiring. Like you are a foreign athlete, like international, or international. Yeah. You're an international student athlete who pursued her dreams to play at the University of Massachusetts because you love tennis and you love academia. Now you have a bachelor's degree, you're about to get a master's degree. Like all of that success was propelled because you love hitting a tennis ball against a racket. Are you freaking kidding me? That makes me want to go like run a couple miles out of like being so happy that that is how dreams are accomplished. So if I'm a part of that and I get to be a part of that journey for you or for any department and where I'm lucky to work, like that's why I'm in it. It's like, yeah, I love sports and all. Sports are cool, but there's just a whole nother switch.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that I work with, I think there's a couple buckets. I think, oh, I was a student athlete. What else would I do? Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I see. Oh, I love sports. Like this just seems like a good idea. Yeah. And then there's the upper third. There's the upper third of people who truly love it because we're underpaid, we're overworked. It's really
passion.
So crucial.
Yeah.
So I think Sue Inquist, a former softball coach from UCLA, said it best that people are divided in thirds of categories with upper third, middle third, and bottom third. And I think that applies to like so many situations. The workplace is one of them where there is an upper third mentality where you want to get shit done, you're passionate, you want to work hard. There's the middle third of the floaters who just go along for the ride. And then there's bottom third people who are just like energy vampires and they're just are there and they complain and they do a mediocre job.
Just because they have to.
So it just depends.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they need money. And
oh yeah.
Who knows, right?
Yeah. No, that.
So I think it depends.
Yeah. Sorry, if continue. My bad. I keep interrupting.
Oh.
Were you done?
No, you don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes me really happy to hear this because I never ever in my life want to be someone that just works in an office just to pass time. Like if there's one thing that I want to do when I work is go to work and try to change someone's day, life, something, or work to build something better than what we already have, or whatever the organization, company, whatever, which is why I love anything that has to do with college sports and how the organization is set. And like what you were just saying, like the thirds, like I definitely do not see myself in bottom or middle just because of how my character is. Like I would hate to, first of all, I don't complain. I think that's because I'm just very resilient as a person. And I know that if I complained in tennis in college, I would probably get kicked in the butt so many times by my coach. I don't even know.
Yeah.
So, like there's no, like that's just not something that's bound to happen. So like my dream is to work like how you said, in a place where you're excited to go to work. You're excited to make things happen. And which is what you basically are. You're excited for this job. Like you want to make a change. You want, and I love seeing that because there are a lot of people, like it's so true what you said. There are a lot of people that just go because like it pays the bills or whatever. And it's like, well, who are you helping? You're not helping yourself. You're sad or whatever. And it's like, don't you want to do something with your life? And especially as a foreigner, because I've seen how work is in Italy and I don't see myself living here and working here just because now I have the mentality of an American in the way that I want to work. I want to make things happen. I have to say, I don't care about money too much at all even. I just want to do a job where I'm passionate and I want to do things and make things happen because like that's the most important thing. Like I don't want to go to an office and just sit there 6, 7, 8 hours a day and be like, oh my God, I have to do this again tomorrow. Like I want to be excited to go in. So like seeing you just like talk has just inspired me so much just because like I feel the same way, but again, I don't have experience yet to prove it. So like I that's my goal. Like I just want to say like everything you just said is literally my goal into whatever career path I want to follow, anything that I just want
Yeah.
to do everything possible because like why else would you be working then, you know? And like you're
I
the
have, I get it,
yeah.
but no, that's not how I want to live. And if I really needed money that bad, I wouldn't be in college athletics. I'm going to be honest. College athletics, you do not make a lot of money unless you're like really high up. So
Right.
I would just be doing something else with a lot less time and to make more money if that was really more of my sole focus, you know?
Yes. No, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, you kind of said this before when you told me about your position and what you do, but would you say I'm going to modify the question a little bit. Would you say your typical day or week is kind of the same or do you kind of follow different responsibilities each day, each week? Does it change? Is it structured in a way that it's always like that? Like how would you describe it?
I mean, college athletics, there's ebbs and flows that are pretty normal. So, like with the start of football season, there's a certain amount of job responsibilities. Same with basketball, and as the sports seasons come and go, there's typical job duties that come along with that. On a day-to-day basis, it's every day is different. I mean, I might have the same formula that I need to call donors, I need to set up meetings, I need to ask people for money, but that could change where next week I'm going to be overseeing a campaign for women's soccer specifically. That's going to take 2 weeks of my time, which is fine.
Yeah.
In 1 month from now I'm going to have to do the same thing for women's volleyball.
Right.
I'm going to have events for football because we're going to be in the heart of football season, so then I'm going to be helping orchestrate things at the tailgate and home games and tip-off dinners and a lot of ticketing needs. So I think the day-to-day responsibilities really are reflective on the seasons of the sport that are happening throughout the academic year.
Yeah. Okay.
But beauty of college athletics, that every day is different. Sometimes I'll have a to-do list and then I'll get to work and maybe there's a brand new event we have to host because this donor wants to do XYZ. And all of a sudden now my day is planning that event or who knows what. Or a donor calls me out of the blue and says, hey, from Orange County, and says, hey, I'd like to give to women's soccer. Do you have time to meet with me today? Now I'm driving to Orange County and I'm setting up a meeting and maybe I have to put together a gift proposal. So that's the beauty of college athletics. Even in compliance, it was the same way. Like, yeah, I'd have like my to-do list, but if we had a compliance issue, I mean, that went out the door and I had to deal with whatever the fire was. So, yeah, it changes. But I'd say with the academic year, you can kind of anticipate what the needs are. And obviously it's based on events, games, and, fundraising goals, of course.
Yeah, of course. I know football is starting off next month now or
Yep.
soon.
August 28th.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure you're busy with getting that started. All the right. Yeah.
This is probably like our last slow week, and then it's gonna be
It's all together.
a little overwhelming. Yeah, just a little bit, but that's okay.
I'm sure.
We're not curing cancer. It's just football games. We'll be fine. People are freaking. Like, listen,
Right.
no one's gonna die. It's a football game. It's okay. Like, we got it.
Yeah. As long as you finish everything that you need to finish in time, then
Right.
right.
It'll be fine.
How has COVID impacted? Have you been in the office? I know
So
California was
I
kind of
started at UCLA in February of 2020. So I was only in the office like 6 weeks.
yeah.
We worked remotely. Like, you are not allowed to go into your office. We worked remotely until this past February.
Yeah.
So like 1 year not in the office, one full year.
That's
And then yeah. And then starting in February, we were going in more, like once or twice a week. So since then I've been going in once or twice a week in my office to work.
yeah.
We're gonna be full speed August 2nd. We're gonna be back in the office, so we're excited.
Yeah.
Something that I helped with since the academic year started last September. I was one of like 15 staff members who volunteered to go to campus to work return to training protocols. So I would sit outside of the athletic entrance for the weight room, and I would scan ID cards and take temperatures for every single athlete who came to the building. Not a lot of people on staff were willing to do that. It was all volunteer and it was outside my job duties. I still did it. I worked games where I worked softball games, volleyball, swimming, like a same thing. You sit, you work COVID check in, and I check people off a list, take their temperature, and make sure they can come in to help, keep our athletes safe and make sure we're doing CDC protocol stuff. But
Yeah,
that's really COVID. Yeah, we were really lucky. Like we had no furloughs,
oh
we
good.
had no salary reduction. I think there's going to be a massive financial impact. I think we're going to be 25 million in the red, which is scary to think about. But we'll just move forward, do the best we can, and help support our athletes and staff the best we can.
Course. Yeah, that I mean, I don't know much, I'll be honest, but that sounds tough. But I mean, if everything kind of goes back to normal, supposedly, that should kind of clear up, no? Or does it depend on
It'll take a couple years for that deficit because every year we spend a lot in order to make a lot for football. So in order to actually come back from like a $30 million deficit, it's going to take.
yeah, it's gonna take a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You
But
get
that's every school in the country. I mean, that's the impact on higher education as a whole. Not even just athletics, but like
right.
thinking about enrollment of institutions that are just down because kids don't want to do Zoom university. Maybe there's going to be a more swing on trade schools,
Yeah.
and I think that's just fine. Like as passionate as I am about higher education, I think we as the United States, like or everywhere, we need a better emphasis on trade schools. Not everyone's meant to go to undergrad or grad, and what I hope it'll be a shift between more white collar to blue collar labor and maybe a little, kind of evolve our job market. But
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy to think about what the impact will be. I wish we could fast forward 10 years so I could just see one day and then go back.
Yeah. And just kind of like see how, yeah, that's true. I think everyone wishes to do that. That was me last year. I wish I could fast forward and see like what this year would look like and how the eligibility thing would have worked out because I was terrified to leave UMass, honestly. And they had a big financial problem as well because with football not being
Oh
very
yeah.
good, as you know, they're still not. Oh well, no, they weren't good even then. They were good in what, the 90s, the 80s, maybe not even.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're just
not to the level of UCLA. I would never even compare them. But like just seeing like how that was devastating for them. They didn't have to cut any teams, thank God. But still, like that was a big
hmm
blow, so that was scary. But hopefully now that that you get to go back into the office and everything kind of life can go back to normal and with the vaccines and whatnot, hopefully everything else will be fine for the student athletes as well. Because I know the temperature checks and everything were, it's amazing that you went in and did that because that really helps. Like me, that I had to be one of the athletes going and there were always people there and helping out, like that's fantastic. Like honestly, it's overlooked just because like you need people that do that, you know what I mean?
What I still don't understand, like we have a full-time staff of 300 people, and I get it's a pandemic. If you're scared to leave your house, like that's fine. But like we only had like 15 people willing to do that, and the reason we have jobs is so it's because these athletes compete.
Right.
Like put your money where your mouth is kind of thing. Like no, I'm willing to sit there and volunteer my time and sit there for 6 hours and scan ID cards so Martina can go to tennis practice and track can actually lift in the weight room and whatever else.
Yeah, people's true intentions kind of show in moments like these.
Totally. I
So
think that, I mean, that's any tough situation, right? Character is shown in a difficult situation. And I think COVID is a big product of that. Again, global pandemic, people's comfortabilities. I'm not trying to be insensitive to that. Obviously, I was more on the, I'd say, braver, bolder, I don't know, whatever side that I was willing to leave my house and do that. There are a lot of people who are not, and that's totally fine. Totally respect that.
I think you clearly applied the "this is bigger than myself" concept that you learned in as being a student athlete, and you just applied it immediately because I mean, in the end, look, if you're gonna get sick, we're young enough to overcome it. Yeah, I know there have been cases where some maybe didn't make it, and it's unfortunate, but most of the time, like they said it right away, this kind of only affects more of the elderly and preconditioned, you know, and it makes sense. But like if you want to make it work and want everything to go back to normal, then you have to try and do everything you can. And that's what you
Yeah,
did. And I'm sure you helped a ton. Like that's
I think
amazing
so.
because
I think our group did, and yeah, it's interesting. Wait, side note, how's Italy with COVID protocols?
um
Yeah.
we've gotten better. I'll be
Yeah,
honest. Yeah, when it was a complete disaster, so a
that
year
was really
ago,
bad for you guys, like in February, wasn't
yeah,
it?
we were the first country to be affected so much,
Yeah,
mostly because I would say 75 to 80% of our population is elderly. So
yeah,
because they live a long time. Well, I don't know what Italians eat or what we eat, but they live a long time. They go until 95, 100, and
carbs.
they're in
It's
good
because it's
health.
hard.
Yeah, they're in good health. So unfortunately, 90% of our deaths were people at the age of 70 up. So that was the main issue. Now it's gotten a lot better because of the vaccines and everybody's being vaccinated and everything. But the protocols were they were up and down because as there were people that were helping with checking temperature and everything, and we were in lockdown for 2 months. So at one point, no one was even getting out unless you had to work, if you were in police
Right.
or
I mean, they were locked down. I mean, LA County was
yeah, and
like
California was too. Yeah, yeah.
it was bad. It was
Yeah, it was
bad.
that. My friends were telling me, they were like, dude, we can't leave our house. I'm like, I know. I'm in the same position, but I know other states were free and could do anything. So Italy got better, but it all depended on the rates of who was getting sick and who wasn't. That was all. Because there were people that were getting sick, not putting their mask on because they're saying it wasn't the mask that was helping or whatever. And all these mentalities that now I'm sick of if I hear them again. But like in the beginning, you were just like, just put your mask on because you're gonna get other people sick. It's not you getting sick, like it is, but you got to think of, So a lot better now, but took a while. Took a long time. Honestly,
Yeah, totally.
time. We were in lockdown this past winter. Like we have regions that is like states basically, and there were regions. The whole north was red. You could not leave your house. You had curfew, kind of like how it was in the beginning, because people were not respecting the regulations. So what are you gonna do? You have to impose curfew. Like you can't just be like, all right, yeah, go
Yeah.
out. People sick. Like you can't. It's impossible. So it was, yeah, it's gotten better. Could still get better.
We had curfew for months. It was nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it can still get
Yeah.
better, but now it's summer, so it's better to be out than inside, I would say. But still, like people need to just get vaccinated
Yeah.
and move on and, do everything they need to do so they don't get other people sick because that it was a big toll on the population. So it was very terrifying at first.
Oh, I bet.
So yeah, it was tough. Okay, well, we went off topic again, but
Oh,
it's
I know. And I actually have a call. I have a call shortly after 12, so I probably have time for like one more question if that works for you.
perfect. Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I let
Yeah.
me. You kind of answered already some of my questions and other questions that I asked you, so I am going to ask you. I'm just reading. Okay. Okay. I'll ask a two question in one type of thing. If you could give someone advice that would want to go into this field or even your job, what would you say to them? And if you could do it all over again, like your path into and journey into where you are now, would you choose the same path for yourself or would you change something?
Good question. I
Thanks.
like those both.
Thanks.
I think advice wise, remembering why you want to do something is just so important. And I know I already touched on that, but like people get burned out not because of why they're doing it, but they forget why. They get burned out with what they're doing. So I think no matter what you decide to do with your life, it's going to be amazing, right? But remembering your why and remembering your purpose is what's going to fuel you and get you out of bed every day when you're tired, when you're having shitty days, or when you just don't want to go to work. Like if we remember our whys, it'll help us get the job done in a first class way and actually, continue to help change lives. And I think that's what it's all about. I think someone specifically coming to college athletics, it's a grind. It is a grind. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of hours that you are not paid for. So it is truly a labor of love. And the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. I know that's everything in the world, right? But it, that situation applies here. Like to be able to represent a larger institution and be a part of a family and a team still, it means the world. So
Yeah.
I think college athletics specifically, like that's the perk. Remember the perks.
Literally.
Yeah, we're not making the most money, but like my work day on a Saturday, I get to go to a UCLA football tailgate and walk around and talk to donors. Like Saturdays could be much worse. Like
Yeah.
much worse.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If I could do it all over again, I would do it the exact same. I would not change one thing.
Mhm.
I was so lucky to have good mentors and good bosses and some bad bosses, like really bad bosses,
Mhm.
but mainly really good bosses
Yeah.
who helped put me in a good position to make good decisions. And I'm so glad I went to Portland State. I'm so glad I got my master's when I did. Like, yeah, I'm still paying off that student loan, but yeah, no, I'm glad I did it. I mean, it was worth every penny, every penny, every amount of blood, sweat, and tears. I would do it again.
Yeah.
Sitting at UCLA, I never thought I would work. So it's, that is everything I've done has led me to this role. And I'm excited for what will come after this role because I'll be so prepared to kick ass and run the shop somewhere in a more leadership position. So yeah, I've been really lucky. And I love doing these because it makes me feel even luckier every time I get to say my path and just like be honest and open with you. So thank you so much for reaching out. This was really fun.
Yeah.
I still I still can't get over that we're both minute women.
Yeah,
Like
I love it. It's
I
amazing.
love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
amazing. And thank you for, emailing me
Yeah.
back because I also was in a moment of stress that one of my other interviewees had just canceled. So I was just like, oh my God, I was like, who do I talk to now? And I kind of went and researched again. And I'm kind of upset I didn't find you sooner.
That's okay.
I didn't even look at West Coast schools. I was emailing all schools on the East Coast because that's who I
I
was
get that.
familiar with because of UMass. And
Right.
I was like, am I dumb? I was like, I'm literally from California. I know so many schools in California. So I started emailing and I'm so happy you emailed me back because you're amazing. Honestly, so inspiring.
You.
Yeah, everything you told me, everything you talked to me about, like you're honestly an inspiration. And I really hope you become an AD one day because I've
Oh,
seen
I
my
will.
fair share of ADs and like you would kick ass at it. You would just because of your passion.
That's the
Like it's
oh,
amazing to see. But
thank you.
yeah, no, thank you so much. You've honestly been such I don't even have words really. Like it's amazing. And it's even more amazing just because you went to UMass
I
and to
know.
hear that and it
It's cool. No, it feels really cool. Again, this is how cool sports are, though. Like, we are talking transcontinental. You happen to have your graduation sash in the background. I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have, maybe we would have got there. I would have asked, like, where'd you do
yeah,
undergrad?
I probably would have been like, oh UMass, me too. Cool.
Yeah,
But
but it's so organic the way that that unfolded. So it's really
no,
cool.
that's thank you so much.
But
Also,
it'll be
I didn't
appreciated.
not register. I recorded the interview. Is that okay? I
Right?
know. Okay, so I just always ask because I